Okay, I'm so sorry that I can't hear you guys, but I see all your wonderful, beautiful faces. All right, I'm gonna start. Thank you so much for coming out today. Thank you for having me. So excited! It's great, like I said, to see all your faces. It gives me hope and joy and excitement, especially 19 days left. Look, I'm going to start here. It's no secret that this pandemic has been devastating, right? Almost every it's like almost everyone knows a friend, family member, a neighbor who has battled this virus, and too many have lost that fight. Millions more are out of work. They are forced to wait in line at food banks and worry about whether they get evicted from their homes. And that is just where we are today as a country, and it's absolutely devastating. And while the virus itself it doesn't discriminate, but Black and Brown Americans have been hit the hardest. And our community, we're dying from COVID-19 at much higher rates. We're losing our jobs, having our hours slashed, and watching our small businesses go under at much higher rates. And more often than not, we're working the frontline jobs that are unseen, underpaid. While we're being called essential workers, many of people you love and know are being called essential workers, we're not being paid, right? They are not being paid, and they are still unseen and underpaid. So on top of all of that, we are now also confronting the pain and the trauma that systemic racism has brought on our communities after the brutal murders of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Jacob Blake, and so many countless others, so many others that it just breaks my heart. And I know many of you feel the same way. The last 6 months have been a painful reckoning for our nation, laying bare injustices as old as America itself. And but in a movement when we need a leader to bring us together, what this president has decided to do, and what he continues to do, and what he's been doing for the last almost 4 years, is divide us. And he does it with hate. He does it with fear. Instead of seeking to heal old wounds, he's prying open new ones. And rather than be a president for all Americans, he served only himself and his pals on Park Avenue. He only cares about himself. You have to look like him in order to even get any notice from him. But if you look like me or look like us, he doesn't care. And it's very clear. And he's made that clear over and over and over again these last 4 years. And you know what? We deserve better. Our community deserves better than that. And that's what a Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ticket will deliver. And that's what we are all of us are working so hard for in the next 19 days and beyond, because it won't stop on November 3rd. We have to continue working past November 3rd. So Kamala and Joe, they won't just take us back to where we were before COVID-19 or before Trump's election even, because for too many Americans, the good old days weren't so good at all. So instead, they see this moment as an opportunity to build this country better than it's ever been before, because the moment is now, the time is now, the momentum is behind our backs. And so we have to take it to the next level. We have to do it better than it's ever been before. And some people would say it wasn't that great before. So we have to force and push and keep the work moving forward to do it better than it ever was before. They know, Joe and Kamala know, that means placing racial equity at the center of our economic recovery. And that starts with our students, because no child's future should be determined by their zip code, their income, or their race. That needs to stop, and that will stop, and we will start the work on getting there. Achieving equity in education is a key plank in our Build Back Better plan because that's the most surefire way to create a strong economy in the long run. And that's what we have to work towards. Their plan will invest in our children from birth to high school and beyond, making sure every single one of our kids has a shot to succeed. Pre-K shouldn't be reserved for those who can pay, right? That's why Joe and Kamala will make it universal, which will do two things, expand access to early childhood education and help out working parents. Right now, I have a 6-year-old. And we are lucky enough to give her the resources that she needs while we're in this virtual reality. That's just where we are as a family. I have friends and I know people who have to go to work right now in this COVID-19 pandemic, as you all know, and they have to bring their kids with them. And a lot of their kids are learning in the car because they don't have the resources to or they can't even stay at home. And so this is where we are as a country, and we shouldn't be. This shouldn't not happen. And this is happening every day. So they're also close the gap between rich and poor public school districts by tripling funding for tier 1 schools. And they'll recruit and reward our brilliant educators, especially teachers of color, by boosting pay and help pay off student loans, which is so critical and important, as you all know, as you're trying to get the education that you need to get that job and you still have the loans. And that happens over and over and over again. I know this last issue is close to Kamala's heart, as she talks often about the impact that her Black first grade teacher had on her. And study after study shows that Black and brown kids are more likely to stay in school if they've seen someone who looks like them lead their classroom. And that's so incredibly critical. I wish I had that when I was growing up. Joe and Kamala will also fight to make higher education more equitable and accessible. This means directly investing $70 billion into HBCUs. It means forgiving student loans for HBCU graduates earning less than $125,000 a year. And it means doubling the maximum Pell Grant and opening the door to these grants for more low-income and middle-class families. Education is a strong starting point for achieving equity. But Joe and Kamala, they won't stop there. Racial justice is integrated into every plank of their sweeping economic recovery plan. And let me just say that again, racial equity is integrated, racial justice is integrated into every plank of their sweeping economic recovery. That's what makes Build Back Better, I think, so critical, because everyone has to move up. Everyone, and we have to do it together. By boosting Black home ownership, expanding affordable housing, and investing $150 billion to help Black and brown Americans start their own businesses, will create a stronger and more inclusive middle class. Rebuilding and reinvesting our economy like this is no doubt an enormous task. But the fight for full equity has been the fight of Joe and Kamala's lives. After all, the civil rights movement is what inspired Joe's first run for office, and watching people march in the streets for justice as a child, which I'm sure you've seen that photo of Kamala in the stroller as a kid, is what drew Kamala to a career in public service, because her parents were part of the civil rights movement. So that's how I know they'll fight until every American has the strong foundation they need to succeed in this country. And it's why I'm so grateful for your support of this campaign, because Joe always says this is more than an election. And I say this, and Kamala actually says this as well, this is the most consequential election of our lifetime. And that is not hyperbole. That is just truth, because on the line is our lives. That's what's on the ballot. Our children's lives. That's what's on the ballot. Justice. That's what's on the ballot. Democracy. Saving our democracy. That's what's on the ballot. everything is on the ballot in just 19 days, and people are voting right now. And so this is what we are fighting for, a fight that you all have been part of for so long. We are here for you. We are part of this fight. And together, for our children and for their children, we will win. And here's the thing, we must win. We cannot have 4 more years of Donald Trump. That is not in the cards. It should not be in the cards, because that is incredibly too dangerous and too scary to think of. So I'm in this fight because I'm doing this for my daughter and all of her friends and all of her peers and the future. I am exactly where I need to be, and I know you all are exactly where you need to be, and we are going to win in November because we have you, all of you, by our sides, and we have the wind behind our backs. So thank you, thank you, thank you for bringing this event together today and for the work that you do every day. I am so honored. Thank you for having me. I'm so sorry that I can't hear all of you, but I see your beautiful faces, and I just can't be thankful enough. And so thanks for having me. And, we'll celebrate in 19 days.